Mm.
Mhm.
They're live on YouTube.
This is your
Love music, love life. The Smooth Breakfast presents the headlines, the stories, the news. In-depth analysis of national current affairs. Freshly pressed on Smooth 98.1.
Mics are up. Studios live. Good morning, Lagos, and happy new month to you. Today is the second day of September 2019, and welcome to Freshly Pressed 981. Here we'll give you a detailed analysis of our newspaper stories, and from now till so it's from 7:30 to 8 o'clock. All right. So this morning I'm joined by Wade at Ring, Nigeria. Good morning, Wade.
good morning, Valentine. Good morning, Lagos.
Good morning. Welcome, and Mr. C is here as well. Good morning.
Good morning, Valentine. Good morning, Wadi. Good morning, Lagos. Welcome to a new and prosperous month.
Fantastic. All right, join us by sending messages through WhatsApp to 0809 That is the WhatsApp number for messages 0809 You can also send tweets to at smooth981fm on Twitter. Use that hashtag freshly pressed 981. We're streaming live on YouTube, so thank you for joining us to watch, send a message as well, and as well as subscribe to our YouTube channels, youtube.com/smooth981fm Lagos. Who goes first? Wadi. The Minister of Aviation has approved the international status for Asaba Airport. It's a report from The Guardian. Hadi Sirika yesterday confirmed the international status for Asaba, Delta State Airport, saying that the state government is living up to standards on the required facilities. Please take us through this story, also highlighting the need for the other airports to come to par. Your thoughts?
First and foremost, congratulations to the federal government for at least trying to take the Asaba Airport to international standards. But there are quite a number of questions we need to ask ourselves. Do you have, does it have economic viability in terms of the traffic that you require to get into the delta regions of Nigeria? It's not just having an international status. Are you going to be able to generate enough money to maintain this international status and keep all these equipment in place? It's not just about starting it, it's ensuring that there is a whole structure of programs that would ensure that this airport remains an internationally accredited airport. Those are things that the federal government and the state government have to think about. Considering what has happened in Asaba, Imo State, the Owerri Airport also is trying to move its grading from being a cargo airport to an international airport with investments. You're speaking with the private sector, which is good, meaning that at least you would have more international recognized airports in Nigeria where foreign airlines and local airlines can fly in and improve the economic viability of those states. But the question, like I continue to say, how economically viable are these airports? Do you have enough people? Do you have enough traffic that will go there? Do you have enough cargo that would be flown there in terms of, because it's not just about having international status but having the monies to continue to make those places internationally approved.
But beyond that, I'm curious to know what instruments they have in place that characterizes this status that has been granted. There's the international There's the International Air Transport Association IATA standards that are set for airports to meet, those specifications.
Well, they haven't said anything about those
Mm,
facilities, but if they say that, well, one of the things that I think would also be required is to do a proper certification by IATA, so that we can all agree that it has met international standards, but not just the first inspection, but continually putting the airports in a state that it will meet those requirements and generate enough money for the states and the country as a whole.
All right, thank you for that, Wadi. The next one is from Premium Times. Premium Times has this report, the $9 billion debt. We're still talking about this collaboration, or maybe it's just impasse between Nigeria and the P&ID. They've named Nigerian officials involved in contract negotiations, according to this report, Mr. C. Here they called a few names, mentioned past administration, the administration before Buhari stepped into 2015. There was there were speculations that Buhari's administration is complicit to that, but they've named the past former heads of states and presidents, from Yaradua to Goodluck Jonathan to the ministers under him. But according to the details, what are your thoughts regarding the entire story?
Okay, so quick recap. P&ID signed a gas supply and processing agreement with Nigeria sometime in 2010. Now, the idea was they were to convert natural gas, which the experts describe as wet gas or liquid gas, into dry or lean gas. The lean gas was to be used by Nigeria free of charge to power the grid, our power grid, and the derivatives that were extracted in the process were to be collected by P&ID and sold. Now, for whatever reason, P&ID never built anything, but there was a dispute that arose, and in 2015, an arbitral award was made against Nigeria in a sum of $6.6 billion. Shortly afterwards, there was an attempt to settle out of court, and a figure of $800 million came up. Now, the present administration entered office in 2015, and for whatever reason, jettisoned the proposed out of court settlement award, and we went to the British High Court, and now we're at $9.6 billion. Now, from the story, it is quite clear that this agreement was first negotiated by the Yaradua officials in 2010. And surprisingly, this coincides with the period where we weren't sure whether he was sick, he wasn't sick, he was alive, he was dead. But the Jonathan administration comes in and obviously has a look at the document and is not keen on going on with the document, with the contract. So on the 19th of September 2012, P&ID nominated its arbitrator and informed the federal government. And on the 30th of November, the Jonathan administration, through Desiani, appointed Mr. Bayo Ojo, the former Minister of Justice, as its arbitrator. And here we are today. So what has happened is, I see that the current AG says he's going to probe all Nigerian officials. That's neither here nor there. How do we deal with this award? Because what it is they have a judgment, they can attach Nigerian assets. The question has been asked, how are they going to do it if they don't see any assets? We forget that Nigeria has foreign reserves denominated in US dollars. Those sums are not kept in Nigeria. So all they have to do is attach the judgment to all the banks holding those monies and take out the money.
Well, ease of access to the funds, though. Like, is it that easy to come by?
What they need to do is institute garnishee proceedings. They have a judgment, and in the garnishee proceedings, Nigeria will not be heard. So it's between them and the bank. So all they have to do is go to JP Morgan, for example. We understand you have Nigeria's money with you. JP Morgan says yes. Pay us 9.6 billion if you have that amount with you. That's all.
So what happens to those the government said will be punished, so to speak? I mean, who? I mean, there are names that have been laid out by this Mr. Quinn in this report. What would you think the government would do? There's Alison Madueke already named as one of those who P&ID wrote to on September 19, 2012, to inform her of the nomination of Anthony Evans and P&ID's arbitrator.
Yes. So first things first. How do you talk about punishment when you haven't even carried out an investigation? This is what I find disturbing about Nigeria. And it's symptomatic of this next level government. You first carry out an investigation. For all you know, you might investigate and Nigeria has no fault. No Nigerian official has a fault. And Desiani is currently outside the Nigerian jurisdiction. They haven't even been able to get extradited to Nigeria to stand trial. So really and truly, their focus shouldn't be on punishing people right now. Let's sort this out.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. C. Messages here. JP sent in this one on WhatsApp. He says, "Good morning, freshly pressed crew. Out of curiosity, should Hadi Sirika be committed to making the Murtala Mohammed International Airport world-class fast? I'm not sure the number of international airlines that would fly from Asaba will make a positive commercial impact. But his thoughts, though. Bidami says, concerning the Asaba Airport being called international, does the runway lights at the airport, do the runway lights at the airport work? Can wide body aircrafts land at the airport? So hence my question about the international standards, especially from the angle of IATA. Now this one is from Ifeanyi Okulose from Iba. He says those found culpable in the gas deal must be unveiled. Government is a continuum, so anyone from both past and present found to have been involved in the malfeasance must not be spared. Go look at the details of that story, especially as published in Premium Times. You see the names, all those who have been listed as being involved in that P&ID contract. The next story is from the Punch newspaper. Police charge journalists with treason for criticizing governor. The governor is a Cross River State Governor Ben Ayade. The popular journalist that being named in this report is Agba Jalingo. He's been charged with treason by the police for allegedly criticizing the state governor, that's Cross River State Governor, and attempting to incite the people of the state against the governor in his said publication. Take us through the story, Wadi. The publication itself, how this has sparked reactions, especially from the human rights lawyer Femi Falana. Your thoughts?
Today, all we think about when someone speaks against any government in Nigeria is he's committing treason. But it's important for us to understand the definition of treason. It's a crime of betraying one's country, especially by attempting to kill or overthrow a sovereign or government. I don't understand why criticism of a government becomes treason. It's amazing. You say something about a government in Nigeria today that stems to show that they are not carrying out their functions effectively, and then everybody says it's treason. Um, like Falano said, if you read the story, it says a Nigerian cannot be charged with any criminal offense for criticizing a governor or any other public officer in Nigeria. In the case of Nwankwo versus the state in 1985. So if the governor feels that what the journalist has written about him is wrong, then he should file for libel
Or
where
defamation.
or defamation of character. So when the police goes on to act and says someone wrote an article and says is treason, and then you arrest him, then it's a bad development for Nigeria. I don't know. Treason, the definition of treason clearly, is he trying to overthrow the government by writing? Has he carried people, or has he carried a gun and walked to State House and says the governor must go out? We need to be very careful about precedents that we're setting, because it will come back to haunt everybody tomorrow. Go to the courts, and I know some organizations who have gone to court for this kind of statements, and they got judgment. So go to a court and get judgment if you feel that the journalist has written things that defame your character. It's completely unbecoming. So technically what we're saying is that journalists shouldn't do their jobs of investigating governments.
Talking about doing jobs, I mean, we understand that governments, state governors, and executives really have access to legal counsel, right?
Yes,
And
sir.
those who are existing in the office are obviously to advise them based on certain status like this. Do you suppose they are doing their job really, or seeking that counsel before they make such pronouncements? Because if there was somebody, if there's a lawyer, a capable lawyer who understands the law and the constitution, it would be supposed that this they would give right advice to the governor to say, okay, this is what, based on the ambits of the law, this is actually what should be given against this journalist.
That is based on the premise that the lawyers were consulted. In this case, I clearly believe no lawyer was consulted.
How do you know?
I just know. Trust me. Because if a lawyer was consulted,
Is his belief.
he would not come out to say what he said. And then it's a hangover to the military days. You're supposed to be accountable to the people. You've been accused of embezzling 500 million. We don't hear a defense from you. That's, oh, it's not true. And these are the facts, these are the records. Please come and look. you resort to a treason case. How?
But the last time we heard about the word treason and somebody being arrested was the case of Shori
Yes.
and with the presidency. So do you suppose this is just the line that it's been told?
Yeah, that's what I said earlier. We're towing a bad line. Anybody that speaks against the government today is speaking treason. Treason, like I defined to you, is betraying one's country or trying to overthrow a government. I don't see these people overthrowing a government. People are allowed to protest and speak their minds, and we should consider these things and actually look at the way we govern people. It's a continuum, and remember that one day also you too would be out of government and you would criticize a government also. Should they arrest you for treason?
All right. If I from Iba sent in a message on WhatsApp, it says, I think that word treason seems to have been bastardized. Criticizing government constructively puts the government on its toes. That's what Ifeanyi says. Yemisi from Borderland says, just building an airport is no big deal, but getting it approved internationally under IATA standards is another question entirely. The volume of passengers is a factor that has to be taken into consideration. And yet another message from Comrade Henry says, Asaba Airport has enough facilities to meet international standards, and it is economically viable. You can watch the video clip and listen to the minister as he exemplified the reasons for giving it an international status. And I also understand that the Delta State government had a public-private partnership established for that. And so it wasn't just the government funds that was used in setting up that airport to meet those standards. But moving on to the next story from New Telegraph, anxiety as the federal government closes Lagos-Ibadan Express Road today, September 2. It's said to be closed for construction by Julius Berger till the 15th of December. Your thoughts on this, Wadi?
Well, reading the story, you find out that the construction company Julius Berger they said they've tried to provide an alternative, but the real question here is, with the already bad traffic situation across Lagos, what would happen to motorists and commuters? Are they going to be spending so much time on the road?
Yes. That's the answer. They already said it.
Yeah, but they said they've provided some form of alternative. Now, the other thing about it is this, and looking at if they've provided, they said both sides of traffic would have at least 2 lanes open to them during rush hours. And if we do that, we also need to reach out to the public, motorists and commuters, to try and obey traffic laws, not break them and cause unnecessary traffic jam. So if we actually do deploy the right systems for traffic management, we just might be able to come out of it. It's happened before with the closure of Third Mainland. Yes, there was a bit of traffic, but it was continually moving because the right traffic management system was put in place. So if they do the same thing here, I don't see it as being bad. At least it's something that we can walk around. But also,
that Third Mainland Bridge closure was just for 3 days. It wasn't up to.
Oh no, there had been one that was closed for about 6 to 8 weeks. Okay. So we've seen that not once, at least twice that I am aware of.
Okay.
So the thing here also is, what's the economic impact on the economy as a whole? Why? Because people who live in that area, how do they get to work? They have to leave home at 12 midnight to get to work early in the morning, or even those who sell or trade around there. What will be the impact on their business? So if they consider all these things, I guess that with what the solution they say they are preferring, by at least having 2 lanes available and people obeying traffic laws, maybe we'll get through it.
So small pains for future gains, right?
Yes.
Because if you look at that period where this is projected to end, December 15th, it's around that time that traffic
really builds
and
up.
Businesses, improve. Then people tend to travel a lot and move goods and services.
I guess, like I said, people should first and foremost ensure that they obey traffic laws. Don't drive on oncoming lane. Don't cause unnecessary traffic, which is one of the major issues with this kind of thing.
All right, let's remind you that this is a partial closure around the Berger to Kara Bridge segments to give room for reconstruction. It was postponed to this date due to the Eid al-Kabir celebration. We'll take a few messages on WhatsApp. Trevor Noah's Lapalpin says, "Hey Valentine, closing the expressway until December 15 gives us lots of time to build muscle." That's right. Ifeanyi from Iba says, "Bring Asaba Airport up to international status is to me a bit hasty. I'm in Delton though. Let's celebrate Ifeanyi and see how practical that is. Shegun says if the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway has to be closed, so be it. The job that has to be done years ago has to be done now. So no pain, no gain. Thank you, Shegun. JP says, once building a new road on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, doesn't Julius Berger have the capacity to work day and night to shorten the work? Well, I guess this is the most realistic time that they've put for this project, 3 months between now and December 15th. We'll take a few more messages after this next story. Let's look at insecurity from Premium Times. This report reads as headline, 15 killed, 55 kidnapped in the attacks across Nigeria last week. Mr. C, please take us through the story. Let's x-ray the activities. It's quite, it's disturbing, not quite. It's very disturbing to see the statistics that have been outlined in the, insecurity situation across the country through last week. What are your thoughts on this?
Okay, so this has been a recurring theme from the start of the year until today. Every week, Nigerians lose their lives, they're kidnapped, they're attacked. And this last week of August, 15 people were killed and 55 kidnapped. Now, I must stress that this is what was brought to the attention of bodies monitoring these reports. These figures are understated. Now, some of the attacks were in the northeast. For example, in Adamawa, a brother of one of Atiko's associates was kidnapped, and apparently he hasn't been released yet. And when you look at the spread of the attacks all over the country, they're not isolated or restricted to a particular zone. They're all over, and it continues to beg the question: what are security agencies doing to stem the tide of insecurity in the country? Because for as long as this insecurity continues, every attempt to drag in foreign investors here will not succeed. And it points to a larger problem that we're trying to avoid, and it's the elephant in the room, which is the rising job insecurity. You have millions of Nigerians who finish secondary school or finish university each year. There are no jobs. There's nothing for them to do. And they have to survive. We're heading to a crisis point where, when their backs are against the wall, violence will erupt, because this current state of affairs is not sustainable.
But that almost automatically okays bad behavior, bad violence and corruption and criminality, because that's not the only angle, or that's not the only recourse for youth who are unemployed. There are other means of employment. I understand where you're coming from, based on the empowerment from the government and ensuring that there are right things in place, systems in place to ensure that these people are occupied with their time.
Valentine, you're correct. But this is what has happened, yeah? People have resorted to kidnapping. Kidnapping is now seen as a business venture. It brings in a lot of money. And apart from Evans and Wadumi, who else has been arrested or taken to court? Wadumi hasn't been taken to court yet. The Evans trial, we don't know what's going on anymore. So people see it as, look, if we cannot do good jobs, or we're too lazy to work or earn a legitimate source of income, we're going to resort to crime, because the odds are on that more people get away than are arrested. For every person arrested, there are like 10 or 20 idiots who are still doing the same thing.
So consequences.
Yeah, consequences.
Or lack of it there.
So there's a clear lack of consequences, and the judicial system is wonderful. Anyone who understands the Nigerian judicial system can be in court for the next 10 years and nothing's happened.
We go to our messages on Twitter. Jesse Shegun says the treason word is the new one for the government in using, or that the government is using to perpetrate the tyrannical agenda, is what he posted on Twitter. The real treason is the huge amounts of money that the 9th National Assembly wants to use to buy luxury cars. Pablo says there's a huge difference with the end result from what RCC made and what Berger is using or is doing. The RCC roads are way smoother and was done quick. Berger just milks money from the Nigerian government, results in shabby results. Pablo, really? We have pictures to show. Yeah? You actually have to go to those locations to see. But I appreciate your message. On WhatsApp, we have more. Remember that WhatsApp number is 0809 444 981. Kufri says, From where to where will the Lagos Ibadan Expressway be closed? So from beggar to car
Yeah.
access. IK from Isolo says punishing past officials for the gas deal does not help in any way. The priority right now should be the way out of this current mess. Let's move on to the next story. This time around, we go to The Guardian for this report. Shiites dare the Inspector General of Police, Adamu, and vow to sustain activities nationwide. They are crying out against the clampdown of the Nigerian police, against them, really saying that according to this report, the Islamic Movement of Nigeria yesterday vowed to continue the activities and weekends. Made the weekends directive to police commands and formations across the country by the IGP Mohammed Adamu for the immediate dismantling of structures belonging to the sect nationwide. Your thoughts on this, Mr. C?
Okay, so quick one. The Shiites were proscribed in the last week of July.
Mhm.
And in the Federal Government Gazette, number 79, it was now made illegal. It was declared illegal for any Nigerian to be a member of the IMN, Islamic Movement of Nigeria. And the activities were deemed to be terrorist activities and illegal. Now, the IGP is reported to have directed State Police Command to dismantle structures. I'm sorry, that's ultra-virus. There's nowhere in the prescription order giving the IGP the power to do that. And in any event, the power to demolish or remove buildings that is vested with each state government. The Nigerian police force is an organ of the federal government. It lacks the powers to do that. Having said that, it is, however, illegal for members of the IMN to say they will continue the activities under that guise because they're liable to be arrested, and if they were duly arrested, it will be in line with the law. However, what they should do, that first of all, they're Muslims. What was banned and proscribed is Islamic Movement of Nigeria.
As a group.
As a group, not Shia as a form or subset of Islam. Shia was not proscribed. So they claim to be law-abiding citizens. I hope they remain law-abiding citizens. But it must be pointed out, the police cannot legally demolish their structures. They lack the powers to do so. It's not contained in the Police Act, and it's not contained in the prescription order. And the police, being the enforcer of laws, should not be seen to be breaking them.
All right. One of note to those concerned, though. Emeka from Amor says, good morning. I'm surprised and ashamed the way politicians manipulate the police to silence its citizens. Treason for criticism. Now, he says. Messages come to WhatsApp as well. This one from Mudupe says, the accounts from P&ID clearly stated multiple locations where this administration had the opportunity to challenge the fine, but failed to meet the timelines of the arbitration tribunal. This administration needs to learn to play according to the predefined rules, not cry foul every time an outcome is not favorable. Corruption is not only when someone steals money, sometimes it is also not doing the job you are paid to do. Patrick says it's great for Nigerian airports to aspire for international status. However, before we give ourselves a round of applause, can we first obtain independent views of the International Civil Aviation Association and the major international airlines' willingness to use such airports? This from Ken Wachuku from Surulere says, I do not understand the analyst's idea of waiting till the man alleged to have committed treason carries a gun and starts shooting before we can agree that they have the intention. Why are people arrested by the police for threat to life in that case? The police should have waited until the crime is committed before they arrest. Can need some clarity there, really, which is a valid question, to be honest, because that then depends on the interpretation of such treasonable comments as made. It would actually help to read the details of that publication by the said man. Let's go to this next story. Let's look at financing, especially from the expiration, or looking at the angle from the expiration of returning of banknotes by banks to CBN. Customers are a bit anxious, wondering if this ban, or rather the deadline, would affect them. The central bank, in this clarity on yesterday, said that customers of banks will not be charged any fee for returning mutilated Naira notes after the September 2 deadline. So previously, we know that banks across Nigeria were given a deadline of today to return all mutilated notes that are not sorted. The banks, CBN, will take care of that sorting. But take us through this story, especially the implications.
Good decision by the central bank. First and foremost, whether the currency is good or bad, the banks are obliged to collect any form of Nigerian currency because it is legal tender. It's their responsibility to ensure that those kind of bad currencies or bad notes are no longer in circulation within the system. But a huge thing for me here is this CBN circular came out in June, and it had 3 months between June and end of August, which ends, the second day of September. What was the publicity to the general public for them to know about this, so that more and more people could ensure that these things were done at the right time and not last minute? For instance, I for one just got a mail from my bank on Friday saying that the deadline was on Monday.
That's today.
And I didn't even know that there was a circular in place. So a lot of all these things. So my challenge with the banks here is, I hope they are not planning with not properly educating and informing customers to ensure that when they bring in their cash or their mutilated cash after the deadline, that they're charging them some form of fees.
Which is why
CBN,
is very important.
which is why it is very important by what CBN has done, saying that nobody is going to be charged. So I encourage Nigerians to take back their mutilated notes, especially the toll gates. Let them go and deposit them at the banks, and that way we should be able to get in some form of new notes into the system.
And it's also very important to state clearly here that customers are not going to pay for returning mutilated notes, and you also can continue to return mutilated notes to these banks, as the CBN said, that the cost of returning such notes will be borne by the banks themselves, because it's part of their own cost of operation,
which is the standard procedure.
Yeah. A special thanks to you, Mr. C, Mr. CEEE on Twitter. Adwade is at Re-Inc Nigeria. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for stepping in for your analysis as well. A special thanks to everyone who sent in comments on Twitter, WhatsApp, and YouTube. Next, we talk sports inside of the locker room. Stay with us.
The headlines.
It's so amazing that this thing was on for 3 months.